Hello, hello. Welcome to the Drew and Few Show. We just want to say thank you guys once again for listening. We just want to say we've had a lot of compliments and shares and all kinds of good feedback once again this week. And if you are listening on iTunes or Spotify, please rate and review and download. That will help us grow the show. If you haven't yet, make sure you hit up our YOLO line. The phone number is 562-246 YOLO. We've got some messages this week, but we're not going to play those until the end of the show. So you guys got to make sure you stick around and listen to those.
Yeah, lots of great feedback, especially with the Conga Line challenge has been huge. So thank you so much. We got a new challenge next week, but the Conga Line, keep sending them in. It's been so awesome watching you guys. I don't know if it's a new trend or what, but yeah, keeping the Conga Line going.
Yeah, we've got so many Conga Line challenges sent in to us that we're not going to show them on the show today, but we are going to post them up on our Instagram page. So we just want to say thanks to Chris Atwood, Simon of Remixologist, Brian B, Steve R. Those are more new Conga Line challenges we got this week. But this week we have a big guest for you guys, and we're going to do a little introduction. So last week, we announced that DJ Scooter is going to be our guest for this week. And Scooter was one of the top-selling featured remix artists on Crooklyn Clan until he decided to join Direct Music Service in 2015. Scooter's reggae remix of Rihanna Rude Boy was signed by Def Jam as an official remix and placed in steady rotation at many radio stations all across the country. His remix of We Can't Stop was not only one of the most played versions of the songs around, but Miley herself used it for part of her VMA performance. Scooter's remix of Beyonce's Formation was approved by Beyonce personally for Annie Mac's Presents compliment. Oh, wow, I can't talk today. Compilation, that's right. Scooter's remixes
fast.
Scooter's remixes are supported and have been supported over the years by artists such as Little John, Diplo, Chainsmokers, Dylan Francis, Cruella, Jazzy Jeff, Vice, Z-Trip, and many more. He's had major remix releases, including Pharrell Happy, Magic Rude, Drunken Love, Shake It Off, Cheerleader, and Demi Lovato, I Really Don't Care. More recently, Scooter has had a remix go viral with the one and only Shaquille O'Neal dancing to it on Instagram. We sure you guys have seen that before. He's on iHeartRadio's Q102 in Philly, but not only does he just DJ around Philly, he's DJed around all over the United States, including Miami, New York, Vegas, Boston, New Orleans, and many more. Please help welcome to our show, DJ Scooter.
What's up, everybody? Yeah. Wow.
Actually, I'm positive I've played almost every one of those remixes I play still currently in all my sets. So yeah, props, man.
Yeah, the Rude Boy one crushes. I play that almost every night I play.
That's the only one I've ever played. I don't even think I have the original on my laptop anymore.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Some of that stuff is I forget that I've made it to like people tag me on socials, and then I'm like, oh shoot, like now that some of that stuff is almost recurrent, that it's popular again from when it first came out. I'm like, I'm old.
Yeah, dude, I feel the same way. A lot of times I'll be playing and I feel almost like I'm cheating because I'm replaying sets that I did in 2008.
And they're crushing all of a sudden again. It's like
crushing. They're so big now. So
I think I lost battery power.
That's all good.
We can still hear you talking. Yeah, we can still hear you as you fix that.
We'll give you a sec. So, Drew, you were in Cincinnati this weekend. How did that go?
Yeah, I actually did a wedding in Columbus for Josh Staley Productions. It was a huge wedding, super fun wedding. They were down for everything and good mix. It was very pink. That was kind of the theme that the bride wanted, and it was pink in it, but I mean they pulled it off and it looks really classy and it looks amazing. So after that we jetted over and to to Cincinnati and hung out at Toad's Garage. Shout out Toad, who basically built every booth that I use to this day. DJ Toad's booths. We did that, and then cruised around the town. It was fun. And then Fuse showed me some Skyline chili. If you don't know, you need to learn. It's pretty bomb, but weird. I gotta admit, bro, it's just weird. Noodles and chili. Like who thinks of this?
I don't know, man. I came out just eating that stuff. I didn't drink milk as a baby. I ate Skyline chili. So, that's just how it goes here.
Yeah. No, but it was amazing. And, just traveling around, and I love that I get to try all the staples of different places. And, you gotta at least try it, right? You gotta try it once. And it was bomb. So I look forward to coming back. And we also took some really dope promo pics that are going to be coming out soon. Look out for those. We had fun causing havoc in downtown Cincinnati in tuxedo shirts and fake jackets. So yes. Shout
out to Chris at Twin Spires Photography for taking some pictures for Drew and I for the show. Hopefully we'll get those soon, along with some other things we got in the works to kind of help make the show a little better. But we had some fun here in Cincinnati. And, I think I'm going out to the LBC in January to visit with Drew. So hopefully we'll have some more stories, and we'll get to do it all. The same thing only in California this time.
Yeah. And any listeners, if you're going to be in Cali, and we'll post out the weekend, we're going to be doing some shows together. You guys want to come out and, see how we make some noise.
Yeah, Scooter, are you good to go?
Yeah. Sorry,
oh, good. We got the cat in the background.
She sits on my desk while I work on music, and she's deaf. So she went deaf like literally for no reason, like a couple years ago, and so she just hangs out. I mean, she likes to be next to me when I work, and it is what it is. I'm a big animal.
How did you realize that? How did you realize that she went deaf? I mean, obviously you're calling her and she's not coming, but did you have to take her to the vet? And the vet was
no. I mean, like, I'm not sure. Like, she used to sit in our old spot and like in the room, and I'm not sure if like that contributed because of like the sensitive like cat's ears are. I don't know if the bass frequencies like affected that, but we just like noticed like walk up on her in the hallway and she'd start getting startled, like she didn't hear us coming, and I was like, what the heck? So then when she was sleeping, I was like, what's clapping, like trying, testing all this stuff, and like she wasn't, responding. We just assumed that she had gone deaf, and that does happen in cats sometimes. I mean, she's 14 years old, so it's like, I mean, cats can live up to, old, really old. Like some cats have been 30 or whatever, so older. I don't even know what the record is, but I had a cat to 21 before. So yeah, it just is what it is. Just I feel bad.
Dogs as well?
No, dogs don't live that long. Not normally.
No, do you have any dogs, or is it
no?
Just
We're
getting
a golden retriever here shortly because it's like my favorite breed, and my parents have had goldens like as I was growing up, and I mean, I am still busy, but I just kind of it's time. I always wanted one of my own, so I love dogs and cats. Definitely more of a dog person I have to pick, but that's my buddy. She sits with me while I work all day, and sleeps in bed, and it's all good.
That's cool.
That's rad.
So have you DJ'd recently? What this past weekend or the weekend before? What have you done lately? What gigs have you done?
Yeah, lately, I mean, summer was nuts with between privates and beach gigs down on the East Coast out here. Like there's a lot of venues that pretty much are only open for 3-4 months, and those schedules they fill up pretty fast. The venues like to book in like February, January, pretty much. So you get a lot of that stuff locked in in the winter time. So I did a lot of stuff like Jersey, Delaware beaches. And recently I was in Penn State University, which is a spot in between like 2004 2004 and 2000, I'd say like 8, I was at Penn State, which is a lot farther away from me now than it was. But at the time, that was like an hour and a half drive, and then they put me in a hotel. But I was there twice a week almost, at a club that used to be called Cell Block, and then it was called Mezzanine, and then they closed after a bunch of years. They sold off a bunch of their properties, and the new spot that I've been playing when I do go up has been around for a very long time too. And Alex Nepa runs that, who's like his DJ company is Mint Events out of State College. It's called the Basement Night Spot. It used to be called Indigo for a long time, and before that was Players Nightclub at Penn State. But they just remodeled the club during the pandemic, and Alex put a lot of time and effort into putting in a new lighting system. And I love Penn State University because it's always been very diverse with the amount of people that come there from different parts of the country. So they've always been very open-minded, even back in like the 2000s. Like as soon as like EDM sort of started creeping into like pop music and stuff like that, they were always like, you could always get away with playing up-tempo music, even when like hip hop was dominating, like all those up-tempo records that were like starting to leak into pop music in like 05, 04. They would listen to that shit too, like Fergalicious, and like even some of the like early David Guetta stuff. Like you could play all that up there, and it still is like that too. It's very, I'd say, international. Like you get kids from all over the country, so you get a lot of like Southern influence, kids that like EDM, like you can play all over the place. So I did play all over the place.
When you were there, what would you say was kind of the big records? Maybe give us some up tempo, maybe some hip hop. What was like the big?
Yeah, so
really,
man, like I got requests for not a lot of requests actually, which is great. But the requests I did get, like, obviously still like stuff that's kind of been super obvious to some of us. Like I had this edit that I made. I don't know if I ever released it. I don't think I did. It's probably in my private stash, but I did this ringtone edit where like it sounds like my cell phone's calling during the set, and people always like, they're like, "Ooh," like, when you drop a cafeteria plate, like people always boo you. It's kind of like I purposely do that to myself, and then like the iPhone ringtone plays Mo Bamba, and then I have this voiceover lady that I hired, and she goes, "Attention, the hoes are calling," and then it slams into the chorus. And people lose their minds because they think I like messed up, or they think like, I'm DJing off a cell phone, and then that comes in. So I played that there, which I don't, that's not like a staple in my set, but I have a lot of those like private little like edits that like help reset a dance floor. It's like a moment where you can kind of like, if you're playing in the genre for too long. So I played that and it went off really well. They kind of like that type of hip hop when I drop down to it. Like UCLA.
And I want to say, I just want to compliment you because I think you have great humor in a lot of the edits you make. And, that's always one of my favorite things is a little bit of trolling is good. Just nudging the crowd a little bit. We're having fun here. It doesn't always have to be so serious.
Yeah, it's bro. Like, man, DJ Twitter lately has been filled with absolute "do not do this" blah blah type talk, and I just think it's ridiculous. Like, all of it is like, I'm like, dude, like, we're here. You paid a cover charge. You freaking did your makeup, or like, if it's more of like a chill bar, like, you spent all this time and money, you come out here and paid for a $9 Corona or whatever. And like, we're here to have a good time. Like this whole thing with like, everything needs to be super serious. And it's like this, like at the inception of DJing, like you're there to have people have a good time. So like, I try to keep it like in that same vein, you know what I mean? Like, yes, you got to make sure everyone's happy, but like can also
they're going to remember that, and they're going to walk away and be laughing their ass off later down the road. I'm like, oh, remember the DJ did this and troll.
Yeah. And that's dope. Like those type of things are kind of what I feel like if I have like if you consider some people have signature ways that they play. I would say that my edit style and like how I play is always kind of like that would be best describe me. It's just like I try to create moments that make somebody like go home and like talk to their friends, or like their wedding is like this happened. Like if I can make one of those moments happen, like it leaves a lasting memory, and like that might be great for like return business for you as a DJ or whatever. So
No one's going back to their friends and saying, "You're not going to believe it. He played
Pep
Crazy
on.
in Love by Beyonce."
Yeah.
And the whole place just lost it. It was so
Yeah.
amazing. No, if you it's always the little bit of the curveballs, the weird shit that really gets people going. And you know, I've always appreciated that with the edits that you've made, and you know, just talking with as homies of like how you can pull some crazy stuff off. I do appreciate that.
And it's you know, it's ballsy, like for sure, because everyone, like you said, everyone's like, we gotta be the cool DJ now, like, you know what I mean? And it's like, bro,
But just so the DJs know, you're doing this. You're doing this when you have them, right? It's not just the first song you're goofing off. It's like, okay, I
No.
got him in my pocket. I've already been destroying it. Let's just, you know, tease them a little bit.
yeah, I mean, I think those type of things like work well if you're like drilling EDM for a while, or like you've been playing a lot of hip hop, or just something that's like a nice stark contrast, like from what you've been doing. Because even if you're murdering an EDM set, like that shit will eventually get old. Like for people, like it loses impact. Like how many buildups and drops can you hear? Like even when crowds love that, like I still feel like you need something to reset the energy and like make that stuff have more of an impact by dropping down and doing something different than that. So those type of edits always work well for that type of stuff. It's kind of like a give me a chance to breathe, like what the heck is happening, you know, and then you pick it up. Whatever the payoff is, it gets them back with like something that they know. But in the meantime, you have like a solid 30 seconds of like, I don't know what the hell is happening. And like, this DJ sucks. And then you're like, never mind. That was awesome. Like, you know,
I think one of the things that you said, and I think more now than ever, it's kind of happening where there's a big divide in DJs and like the cool spots, quote unquote, versus like the spots that are just kind of fun. And it, to me anymore, you know, for a while I was like, you know what, I want to be that cool DJ in the cool spots. But now I'm like, I actually don't want to be that guy at all. I'd rather be the guy that's in the spot that's just fun. And it's like, okay, if your business is built around bottle service and selling bottle service, and you need those couple people in your town that are going to come there and spend 50 grand every week or something like that, then I think you got a bad business model personally. And I would rather play at the spots where people are showing up and having fun and having a good time. And I think it's good that, like Drew said, yet you don't have to take yourself so serious, and you can have fun with it still.
yeah, man. I mean, to be honest with you, like personally speaking, even though I feel like relative, and it's all relative to everybody in their own career, but you know, I've done some really cool stuff and I'm very blessed for that. But I'm always looking to get into cooler spots, or like, I mean, play better gigs. Like, so, but like my ideal situation would be to get in like consistent into some of these rooms that kind of have this like cool guy image, but bring that style to that place. Because I feel like what happens, and I've seen it, so, and it happens locally here at the spot bottle service spots here in Philly, like it's like, because it's that spot, even though I know some guys go in there who are more open formatted minded, they go into a spot and they know that like, well, that guy, and that guy played right before, and they feel pigeonholed into like playing the same. Like, I got to play trap for all this time. You know, like I got to play all this hip hop, like, or whatever it is, like, and they completely just don't do what they got booked to do, like, because either that crowd has, everyone's just repeating what everyone's doing week in and week out instead of like just doing you. And you know, when I get booked, a lot of times the residents are like, just do you, bro. They want me to play like that, right? But I can tell that like in certain rooms, like the guy that played the day before me, the week before me, or like the majority of the people that they book, like end up getting caught in this like mind space where they got to be the cool DJ. And like, if I don't play like I'm gonna look like the a-hole if I come in here and don't do what those guys done. And it's like I wish some people would like break out of that mindset, because it would just free things up again for like let people feel less thoughts about being cool and just like playing the way the room you should be, because all that thinking just like gets in the way of, like, the crowd doesn't know that you're thinking all that crap. Like, you know what I mean?
Don't overthink it. Right?
Yeah, it's just like go in there and do you, bro. Like, have a good time. You know, they're there to have a good time. Like, if you're in there in your head all night, like, you're gonna suck. You know.
Yeah.
So what would you say are some big songs that you're thinking of, or that at least walk that fine line, right? Does that make sense?
Fine line of what?
A fine line of what you want to play, and what the crowd's still gonna go off to or think is cool.
I want to play everything. I want to play everything. Like people always ask, what do you play? Like, and I say everything. Like, I really like playing every genre of music I can in a night, as long as people are happy to hear it. You know, like, if I could find the way to work Motown in, I love doing that. You know, if I also like freaking banging them over the head with some like bootleg vocal house bootlegs that like melt their face off too at some point. You know, it's just like, but for the most part, I want people to go in there and sing their hearts out and like have a good time. And you know, if they want to shake their ass, like I like getting ratchet too. It's just like, but I don't like doing all night of like ratchet stuff, because that gets boring. Like, and for the same reason I told you, like, EDM all night would get boring. Like, I can do it. I can play hours and hours and hours. I can warm myself up and then play a peak hour set and then come back down at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, it's not that I can't play that way. It's just that to me, it's boring.
So my question is, so we're talking about clubs and we're kind of focused on clubs, but I know you've started doing a lot more weddings. And would you say that, everything we're talking about is kind of a wedding, right? Where just give me a little bit more free reign and read the room. Right. And so have you been enjoying weddings a lot more?
Yeah, I've been enjoying weddings. I think as you get older, like, you just kind of appreciate like what's happening and like how much money these people are spending and like the whole, process of it. I think like you at least have like more of a respect for the whole day. So that was definitely one thing as I like got out of my like late teens and early 20s when I was doing weddings. Then like I was doing them, but I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, you're just like, you don't care as much,
And they definitely weren't as cool then as they are now. The new bride is hip and is down.
Yep. Yeah, and yeah, that like most of the brides now and grooms, they just want they want you to play like you do at a nightclub, but at their wedding. So I would say that there's a lot more crossover between people that do privates and people that do clubs, because if anything, like, there's a lot of things that happen at weddings that I wish, or I have also like tried at clubs and later, because they worked so well. You know what I mean? It's just like,
yeah.
There's like college age kids now. Like, there's a lot of songs that they're asking for, a lot of disco, which is wild to me. But like ABBA, not just Dancing Queen, but like Gimme, like that's
getting that here too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love it. Like, there's these songs I'm like, how do you even know that song? Like, I'm getting a lot of disco requests from like 22-year-old kids right now.
I wonder if it's disco house that Daft Punk kind of made a big thing when they released that Get Lucky, and they're like, you got to bring it back. You got to go back to bring it forward, right? And then slowly over the next couple of years, I started seeing that where I was getting requests where they go, no, don't play anything cheesy. And then their playlist is all cheesy disco records that I'm going, can you describe cheesy to me? Because I would say this list is cheesy to me, but you're finding it to be really cool.
Yeah, it's like, I don't mind playing like quote unquote like cheesy records, like not the chicken dance. Like, I hate that crap. Like, but
that's just blackball. That's not cheesy. It's just
but I'm saying like, these kids that like are, I think a lot of things have happened too in music pop that has like made that cool too. Like Dua Lipa, Bruno Mars, you know, like they've really kind of reintroduced that sound that like people don't think it's, or don't even realize that it's disco influence. But like if you listen to ABBA, Gimme back, combined, you know, like back to back with Dua, they sound like the same style, and like because they pretty much are, just with updated production. So I think that's great. I love it. You know, it's like people are into Madonna and stuff again. It's like, yeah, cool.
What do you think that a club DJ could learn from a private event DJ, and vice versa? What can a private event DJ learn from doing clubs? Like, what are things that you think you need from both aspects to be good at doing both?
Well, I think because wedding guys who are exclusive to weddings have always had that like no chains on me mentality with their music, because you have to, like, I was looking at a wedding request list that I'm doing this weekend, and it has Boot Scoot Boogie on it. It has like Justin Timberlake with like Little John, and it has all these people that are like unrelated to each other. So I think as a wedding guy, like, you're just kind of used to that. Like, number one, because you got to play for people who are in their 70s and 80s, and at the same party that you have to play for people that are like getting married, that are like around 20 or 25 years old or 30 or whatever. So you're kind of used to that. And I think that whole, it goes back to the whole cool guy thing. Like, I think like if more club guys just got out of their own head, or just like scrape the stigma away of like, I don't know if it's the GMs telling them that, or it's like the stigma of like you're playing at, you know, like a gigantic club in Miami or whatever, and like you feel like you got to play like all this stuff because you got like people playing bottle service and they want to hear that. I don't know what that is. Sometimes it is that, but from a club guy perspective, like they should learn that from the private event guys. Like, you need to get out of your own way. And there's the reverse of that is like some of the private event guys, like if they really needed to like put their foot on the gas, like could never do it. And I've just seen like private event guys play like exhibitions at like clubs, like for certain industry parties or whatever. And I just don't feel like they have that fifth gear. Like, they just don't know how to, like, if you really had to like control a cool room, quote unquote, they'd be lost in the sauce. Cause like you have to kind of know, like,
they're
even
not stacking those records, right? So they have their, I think all three of us here, we all do all different types of parties, and we're all constantly digging, right? So you would put those fifth gear records in a crate and go, okay, there's going to be one day that this is going to happen, but you're constantly updating it. And I think, like you're saying, some of the guys just get a little too safe, a little too comfortable, and aren't hiding those records away and updating them, if you will.
Well, the thing is, I think mostly when it comes, I wouldn't even have like, I couldn't even rattle you off records, because I feel like that changes every month or every week, because those records, like, I would say, and it's a joke now, but the Latin community has a ton of those records right now. So like, if you're playing the cool club, like, you have to know that like Bad Bunny and like
Bob Bunny.
Yeah, Bad Bunny. Like, he released like a brand new collab with like another Latin artist that like is like a low key heater on like the streets, like, and like, that's what I mean. Like, some of those records you would never know about if you're only doing privates, because you really have no reason, unless you're like, you have to like kind of keep your ear to the streets. Cause, you know, like some people tell me about records that I've never heard of, or they ask for stuff, but like, I'll be like, all right, cool. Like, maybe I'm just missing that. And then I'll have to go do my research like later. Like, I'll play it for sure. Like, you got Wi-Fi at the club, or like use your cell phone. Like, if it's something that I feel like maybe I'm messing up, I mean, I can't download every record every week. So I'm open-minded to that, but I'm like, all right, like, this seemed to go off. Like, maybe I'm sleeping on that. Like, it's like exhausting to do that every week. But I'd say like most private event guys don't care enough or have a reason to like know what the clubs are doing this week, because Bad Bunny released a record on Thursday night at 12 o'clock. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, I was actually just spoke with a young DJ recently, and he was asking me how he could get better or this or that. And I just said, I think it's beneficial for any DJ. And I'm not just saying a wedding DJ or club DJ or this, but to just try and do different style events and get out of your comfort zone. A wedding guy should go and do a club, even if you're just opening and it is what it is. You have to go and learn some of these records. Like you're saying, you played something that, and it ended up being bigger than you thought. So you played it at the other show. So I've learned a lot of stuff where, you came and saw me at this one bar I was doing, and it was a college bar. I think most of that set I'm playing at weddings now, because I realize if it's that massive, then it's going to transition over to that style event. If it's that massive at a bar, then it's definitely going to transition over to more people.
Yeah, like I heard a record when I was down in Dallas with Nate Nelson. I went down for the Eagles game a couple weeks ago, and one of his business partners, like his girl, was out on like this boat with us. And she played this record that I looked up. I was following the artist on Instagram, but I didn't know that she had another new record, and we were like jet skiing or whatever. And so the chick goes out to go jet skiing, and she's like, "Oh, play this song," and plays it, and it's like a Genius of Love like reinterpolation, and the beat knocks, bro. And I was like, "What the heck is this?" I was like, "Yo, I'm playing this immediately." And it was like the artist was Lotto. It's a song called Big Energy. Now it's become a lot more popular in the last like couple weeks since I first heard it. And that might not be like news to anyone, but those type of things I'm always looking for. Like, I'm like, damn, like that's cool. My mind was thinking like, what can I like mess with this? Can I put this with another record? Like whatever. So it's like, you kind of always got to be on top of your thing, and it's exhausting. Like, I feel like if I was constantly doing only weddings, like then the brides are now more like hip to that stuff. So you do have to pay attention, but you don't, if it came out that week, you're not necessarily like expected to play it. Like, you know what I mean? Like Pet Boss probably took like 2 months until like I had to play it at a wedding, you know what I mean? But like if it was like a club, I probably would be playing it the same week, or like the new Drake album. Like, oh my God, like that week it was like 3 songs off this freaking album I had to play. And I was like, damn, this happened quick. Like,
yeah.
So one of the other questions we got, kind of since we're in the same realm right now of private events, is you've done some wedding and private events out in Utah recently, and we got a question from a guy at One Above Entertainment who says that every time you play out there, everybody raves about you, and he's just wondering like what you do as far as programming your night when you're at a wedding, from the cocktail music to dinner music and then to the dance portion of the night. What is your thought process kind of on that?
Yeah. So if some of the bride and grooms like don't want me to necessarily DJ at dinner time, I'll do that. And if they want that, it's a nice challenge every time I get to do that. But if I'm going to be DJing during dinner and not just like letting them hear a playlist, I'm curating those playlists before I even get there. So I have an extensive, like I usually do at least 2 Zoom calls with them. And I ask them about like, what year did you graduate high school? Like, what music were you into in college? Like I try to nail down as much of my background on them as I can to kind of know where their headspace was in their music, because I always tell them, like, if I can touch on like this inside joke you have with your parents, or like your college, sorority sisters, or, when you and him first started dating, like if I can like slide in like an acoustic version of that song in dinner because it's not really danceable, or like during ceremony, if I can find a cool version that's like instrumental that from like a string quartet, like I try to put just moments throughout all my weddings so that people again go away with like, oh my God, like I can't believe he fit in like the Aladdin theme song, like at dinner. Like that actually happened like at a wedding I did in May.
Don't skip over that. Like that was lost. We definitely need to know.
It was an inside joke with the bride and like her sister and her aunt, and she was like, oh my God, you find a way to like work in like Under the Sea. And I was like, okay, like, I'll do that for sure. Like, so I don't know. I just I'm always trying to make moments like that happen. And, if you can do that, I feel like people like will think you did a great job. Like, not that you're not doing a great job, but I think that it goes a long way instead of them feeling like they're just getting like the routine that you do at everybody else's wedding. Like, you know what I mean? You have to personalize everything if you're doing, especially when you're doing like an elite wedding space. Like, I feel like everything needs to be personable. Like, their chargers at their table are like so personal. Like, number one, like they're spending $30 a charger or whatever it is, and then they got like their aunt's artwork. You know, she did this artwork and they made it into the napkins, and the dance floor, excuse me, is like, you know, another that happened too. Like at a bar mitzvah I did like in Miami, it was like the aunt is like an artist and they made the dance floor like her artwork. So it was like they're spending all this time and stuff doing personal, and you're just going to show up and just do like the regular thing that you just like, you're calling it in. It's like, I feel like you're getting paid that money to like be on that level. Like the florists and like lighting technicians are spending all the time to be extra special and go out of the way to make it one of one. And if you just go in there and be like, yeah, like I'm just going to show up and just do what I did last night, it's like, why?
They're big. Basically, there's big songs that we all have to play, but finding a different way to play it, or a cool way, or a cool remix, and just throwing a little flavor on it, you know,
and a way to connect with people at that. You know, the connecting with people, and like Scooter was saying, you know, he does the calls and he asks them all these questions that allows him to get to know them a little more. And I think that, you know, like he was saying, the special song that they ask for, when you can play those and work them into your more routine things that you do, you know, it shows that personalization. It shows that you care. It shows them that you're connecting with them, you know, in their night. And that's, you know, what makes it a little more special.
Yeah, I'd hate to. I wish there was like a really simple answer to like make that, you know, answer that question. But I don't think that there's like a simple answer for that to make it universal for everybody across the board. Like, why, you know, what makes how I DJ a wedding different from somebody else? Like, I don't think that there's like a cheat code that I'm like giving out to everyone, and like all of a sudden, like this week on Friday, they're gonna go to like a wedding in Utah or wherever and be like, all right, I'm doing it the way Scooter does it. Like, you know.
Well, I have the answer for you, Scooter. This is what it is. It's called being a DJ for 20 plus years, or however long you've been DJing. It's called experience, you know, and it's because you actually put in the time. You're making edits, you know. Edits, I think you got to customize your own show, right? You're customizing the show so much that you sound so different from everybody else. And so I'm complimenting you on that. It is bigger than what you're downplaying. It's like, it's the experience, it's the custom edits, it's just music knowledge, period. So DJs, there is no cheat code. You have to put in, it's what's called the time. You got to put in the time, man.
Yeah, and here's the thing, like if you don't, like, let's say like like, okay, yes, I'm playing my redrum of September by Earth, Wind and Fire. Okay, yes, and like I'm playing a lot of the stuff that I made because I feel like this version, you know, knocks harder and like it sounds cleaner, or I can mix it in this way and it has more of an impact for my dance floor. Like maybe I'm overthinking that part of it and like not thinking about how custom some of my sets end up being because of that. So I could be missing that totally. So you might be right there, but it's just kind of like, if you don't know how to make edits, like just go out. If you're like, well, I really don't have a good version of September by Earth, Wind and Fire that really kills it for my dance floor, like, or then you need to spend the time to go find that version that makes you feel like you like it and it gets the reaction you want. You know, if you can't make the edits, I'm not holding that against you. Like that's fine. Like I can't, you know, I'm not an architect, so I can't build houses, but you know,
but by the way, this episode is brought to you by directmusicservice.com. So if you are not following or subscribed to Direct Music Service, make sure to do so, because you can find a lot of Scooter's custom edits on directmusicservice.com.
Yeah, and I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out my new sponsor, Screwball Whiskey. So shout out to them. They hit me up, and yeah, I'm sponsored by a whiskey company now too.
Speaking of,
is that for real? Is that for real? Because that's so tight, dude.
Yeah, that's so tight. Speaking of sponsorships, we have a question.
Does that mean we need to take a quick shot? Or are we taking a quick shot or what?
I mean, I don't know. Wait, let me do this for the camera. It's got.
Hold
like,
on, we got the extreme close-up button.
Extreme close up.
Look at that. Check that out. Screwball Whiskey.
I am a big fan of Screwball Whiskey. I have some in the closet.
Yeah, they're so San Diego based, and they're a peanut butter whiskey, and I really like their story. I hate to go into this, but they're just like a real mom and pop company, and like their whole thing is like they lean into people in the world that are kind of like left of center, and I just feel like I really identified with that because every time I try to describe my mind to people, like, how do you come up with this idea? I'm like, and Pharrell talks about this a lot. It's like, you know, being able to like, he sees colors in music and all this stuff. It's like my mind is always kind of like always felt different, like and I call it nerdy, but it's like, you know, their company, their whole image was like they're kind of leaning into people in the world that are a little bit like left of center. And I just felt like when they asked me about being sponsored, I felt like it really was like a match made in heaven. I mean, I had some of their whiskey upstairs when they actually called me about it, and it's like, yeah, like I support the product anyway. Like, and I just went on like a big Kentucky like whiskey trail tour, and I learned about how whiskey's made. So I was like, well, now I know so much more about the industry, and like this all came at a good time. So I was just like, yeah, happy to do it, and they're really cool. So that just worked out.
Hey, that's rad. I'm a big fan of that whiskey. So props to you, man. That's cool. Very cool.
Yeah, it is cool. One of the questions we got was about sponsorships too, and if you had any other sponsorships, or if it's just Screwball for now.
Just Screwball for now. I mean, I would say like unofficially, you know, Jetpack bags. That like, I'm not officially. I don't paperwork on them, but they've always been so kind to me. So everybody over at Jetpack Bags, like they've been great to DMS. I'm sure you guys know too.
Shout out DJ Stress, DJ Alpha,
and then
homies.
Since you haven't been, DJ Saab would like me to tell you that he thinks that you need to go after a Bird or a Lime scooter sponsorship.
Yeah.
Well, me and Drew, we're big fans of the scooters.
Yeah, actually, I was on one of them for the first time in Kentucky a couple weeks ago, and I was like, oh man, like I was like, how do I not have a sponsorship? Because there was actually a sign at this one place that said like no scooters, and I was like, you know what, like how do I not have like a moped sponsorship? Like this is
What I more want to know, how is that your first time on a scooter, dude? What the hell? We bought some during the pandemic, and so our family will just go get lost in our neighborhood because we were sitting at home, and we just go ride around. They're way too much fun.
Yeah, they're awesome. I feel like I could easily break something on them if I landed wrong, but
100%. The new ones too. We were on some just yesterday when he was in town, and like the new ones go super quick compared to the old ones.
Yeah,
way too fast for what you know. You're just no helmets picking it up, typically drunk. They just go way too fast.
I don't know how like scooter safety was not on the questions list here, but I feel like we should I've never had a discussion where I went over like me riding an actual scooter before, so this is the first that needed to get out of the
way. Well, next time, hey, when we're in Arizona coming up here, we are definitely going scooter riding. You better get ready, dude, because
they have another brand down there too. I forget what the brand was the last time I was down there, but it's like an orangish colored brand. I forget what it's called, but that's like the third one.
There's usually like 3 in every market, I've noticed. Sorry, I'm trying to fix this camera because it turned off 3 times on us, so it's out of whack. But
well,
yeah, there's like major companies.
We're going scooter ridings in November, so
yeah, let's do it. DJ Collective, let's do it.
All right, to circle back around, we're going to ask how you first got into DJing, and then again how you got into the editing. So tell us a little about that.
Yeah, when I was like 14, was going to a lot of like, when you're 14, you only get invited to birthday parties. There's no cell phones really back then. They were like brand new. They were like kind of out, but like nobody had them in my class until like the next year or the year after, I remember. And we would just go to birthday parties, and like people would throw on, like they had one CD player and like let it play. And then some of the kids had like 3 disc changers. Their parents had like fancy shit. and they were just throwing CDs, and everyone brought their CD books to the party, and like they would just put them in, and we would just like talk and do our 14-year-old crap in people's basements. And then I just noticed that, like, my God, like this is the third time we heard this Jay-Z like Hard Knock Life CD like tonight, or Linkin
Can I
Park.
interject real quick? Are you in Philly at this time, or where
No,
are you?
it's like Central PA, so like Harrisburg, Hershey area. So it's like, yeah, all right, I've heard Christina Aguilera 3 times tonight, like, whatever it was, like Linkin Park, Limp Bizkit. And I was like, I felt like I was the only person at the party who was like noticing it. But the fact that I was like noticing the music being repeated and nobody else seemed to care, like in my mind, I thought that was like something that, like, why am I noticing nobody else is really caring? So I started to like care more about that stuff. And so I bought like 2 Walkman from like Radio Shack and like a DJ mixer, which I didn't know. Just whatever mixer they had, it was the cheapest thing they had, and I just bought it because I was like, oh, like I bought cables at Radio Shack and like took like the cables and plugged it into like the mixer, and like I was just like playing songs like that. And that was kind of like my first like setup, and I was charging, like when other kids would have birthday parties, I said like for $50, like I'll DJ it, like quote unquote. And then I bought like a coat rack from like a Walmart as my light stand, and I put like Spencer's lights on like a coat rack because I didn't know like that you could buy trussing.
That's so tight. DJ,
Yeah, like it was like a legit like wardrobe coat rack that you buy for your house, like, and it was like couldn't hold the weight of the lights. It was so bad, bro.
I thought you were gonna say you were taking money at the door as like a for coats, but no, this guy's like hanging lights off of it.
Yeah, bro. I was like, oh, I'd go to Spencer's and be like, oh, this light's cool, like so cheesy, and be like, yeah, and like I just like duct tape it to like the coat rack. That's my light show. I was real like MacGyver-ish back then, and super low budget. So,
but I don't know. Are you burning your own CDs, or were you still buying like compilations?
I didn't have a CD burner back then. Like, I was starting like I bought a Newmark turntable too, 1, not 2, which was stupid. And I was like, I just like want to learn how to like manipulate vinyl, because I was like messing with my parents' vinyl for years in the basement, and like their record player was so old, like you couldn't scratch with it. Like I didn't even know like the difference in needles. So I like spent all this money.
Belt drive turntable.
Yeah, it was a belt drive turntable, and I was like, "This sucks." I hit play. It's like, it was just like pickup speed. I was like, "Oh my god, dude, this is terrible."
And you still have the mat on it, like the old thick rubber mat that it comes with.
Yeah, dude, that was like my infancy of DJing, because I didn't have anyone to like show me any different. So I was just like doing it like terrible. Like, and I appreciate the fact that I had to go through all those stumbles, but eventually like I learned that there was like professional CD players and like professional turntables, and like I bought professional my parents actually got me like a Gemini disco mix like a year and a half or 2 years after I started doing that, which was like the most professional gear I had like until that point. So I got rid of like the CD chain, the Discman and crap. But it was like a 2-channel little Gemini mixer and 2 professional like CD players, but it didn't have master pitch. So it was like,
like a cue button and a pause and start.
Yep, that's it. That's all it had. And I was doing parties with that, and I was also bringing out turntable because I was like trying to learn that the whole time. And then eventually like got myself a proper set of turntables after years and years. Like it took me a while to do that, and then I was like DJing on turntables forever. Like with before there was Serato, I was doing that, and I started working for a radio.
Getting all your vinyl at the time, or was it like?
So I got an internship at a radio station right out of high school.
What age is this?
18.
18. Geez.
So I was like 14, 15 when I first started DJing like that. Like I think it was like 15 exactly, like that year. And it took me 3-4 years to like get to the point where I had like enough gear. What happened was like a boy of mine was like in a band, an older kid at my high school, and like I asked him if I could just like pay him to like come out and like rent his equipment when I would do parties. So he had like big speakers and shit. So his name was Colin, and like he had a band, and he would just like bring his sound gear out. So I actually like had some legit sound equipment, like speaker wise, for a lot of years. And
Would
he
you
sold it
play
to me.
in the band, or how did that
No,
work?
no, I would just pay him to come out and like DJ with me, but like just set up gear because I didn't know anything about gear. So he taught me a lot about like crossovers and compressors, and that was like my first like education into sound because I didn't know anything about sound. So it was like a band guy that taught me a lot about that stuff. And then his band like dissolved like when he graduated high school. Like they would do gigs every now and then, but he just sold me his old shit.
And is
that
that
like,
how you got into editing then too? Like, does this guy help you get into editing?
no, he knew. Like it's weird. You would think that like a guy. I didn't put those pieces together in my head back then. Like I should have been like, oh, I want to know about music theory and stuff, but like I didn't do that. Like it was stupid of me not to think that way, but I didn't know the difference or like even how to connect those dots back then. So I would just like go at home, and back then my parents had Windows 95 computer, and all those machines.
Dang.
All those machines had Windows Wave Editor that came stock, like Solitaire. All the games, they had like 5 games that Windows always came with, and there was this thing called Windows Wave Editor, which nobody even knew about, I think, except me.
Yeah, I don't think I ever even saw that.
It was just a single track. Like the best thing, it's like if you own Audacity now, like
this is Scooter like, getting on the internet on his computer. And his Windows 95 to make edits.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, bro, it was terrible. It was single track, and I didn't even know that things like you had multiple tracks. So I was like recording my turntables and my CD players like into the computer, into the line in with like 8 Radio Shack connections strung together, and then I was like trying to do drums over top of like songs that I wanted better versions of, and like hit record and looping it live. That's how like elementary school I was with this stuff back then. Like, and it was like loops that came on the end of like DJ CDs or like the beginning of like Ultimix edits from like way back in the day. Like I would just like loop the drums and be like, oh, I want like better drums on this. So like, and if you messed up, you had to start all over again. So it was literally like live recording was like my introduction into that. And on Windows Wave Editor, excuse me, the only thing you could do is copy and mix paste. So you could like select the point in the waveform that you wanted to put the song on, but all you could do is like paste it over each other. And if it didn't stay on loop for the whole duration of the way you wanted it to, you'd have to undo it and change the loop that you made and then like try to repaste it. It was literally like guess and check, guess and check, guess and check, guess and check. And it was so bad, dude. Like I can't tell you how many hours I used to spend just trying to figure out making a reed drum.
So the progression of this, I mean, obviously Ableton or just being able to warp or just transition or really move around and bend the file, like you're saying, you had nothing back then, right? So let's go on the progression. What did you get into, and how did you jump forward, and what are you using now?
So I still to this day use Adobe Audition, but back then it was Cool Edit Pro, and how I got into that was, and I do use Ableton and FL Studio too, because each of them do things that the others can't, and I have a hard time like living inside only one of them exclusively.
Could you explain for us like
what
are those things?
Like Windows, I mean, Cool Edit Pro was like what all the radio stations and still do to this day. Now it's Adobe Audition, but when I got that internship, they forced me how to make commercials because I was an intern. So they wanted me to like get the full like well-rounded radio host experience. So they're like, when you get callers, you need to chop them up like live on the spot while you're on a 2-minute commercial break. You need to be able to like chop phone call or audio and like know how to get around this program. So they sat me in a production studio like room one day, and like this person like gave me like a crash course on it, and then we're like, all right, have fun, like figure it out. And I was like, what the hell? Like, but I was so intrigued because I was already doing that crap at home. And I saw this and I was like, wait, there's multiple tracks. And I was like, you can do what? Like, I was like, oh my God, I want to learn this program so bad. So I ended up like spending so much time at the radio station, like doing that, just like learning the program. And
do
like,
they give you sweeps and drops? Because you listen to the radio now and it's like the whoosh, and it has the
yeah, and I didn't even know what
crumble
that,
and all that stuff.
yeah, I didn't even know what that was called. Like they just had like CDs of it. So like if you wanted it, you had to like go through and like pick it on a CD and like hit record it into your session, and then use it. It wasn't like a database of files. It was like, okay, here's our sweep CDs, and it was like a CD booklet this thick, and it was like up tweets, like, and you just like go through it and like picking.
Because for the DJs that don't know, and actually most of you still probably know because you're still stuck on old tech that we here at the Drew and Fuse show hate on, but you're still using floppy disks to save all your samples. It's like, let's update a little bit to a terabyte drive. So back then, there was you couldn't just import all of those, right? Because the hard drive it wasn't big enough. You had to basically go through the CD carried all of that. So there was no choice of importing it so that you could hear them faster and skip through them all. But
yeah, the program, I don't think the computers held that much space back then. Even at the radio station, like they had a lot, but like they got sound libraries sent to them every month.
I had a zip drive and it held 100 megabytes. I remember getting the upgrade that was 250 megabytes for a zip drive, and I thought I just hit the jackpot. Oh my god, this might as well be, I'm a king now.
Yeah. So it was bad, man. Like, and so that kind of like really got me off and rolling, because then I got that program at home. I got like a bootleg version of it. Don't tell. But or the radio station gave me the license key. I think they had like license keys, so they gave me one or something like that. I forget what I did, but I was like, oh my god. Then it was on. Then I was doing like real edits, like at home, like at least more advanced. But I still didn't know anything about mastering. Like I was like definitely putting like frequencies over top of frequencies that like was muddy. Like for a lot of years I was doing that, like a lot of years, because everybody didn't know. Like,
my question is, how long did you stay at the radio, and then when did you kind of transition out of that? So you're 18, you still can't really play clubs and bars, and you want to jump over to it. So was about 21? Were you there a couple of years? How'd that work out?
Well, I was going to college right down the street at the time, so they ended up giving me a morning radio show job like after a couple months, which kind of like fell into my lap. So I was like, I'd go to the radio station at like 4:30 a.m., be on the radio 6 to 10 with my co-host, go to class, and then come home. And I learned a lot about like marketing. I learned a lot about the music industry, like record reps and all that stuff. So it like really kind of gave me a well-rounded education into the music industry. And I learned a lot about myself and like how to navigate the music industry and like how the infrastructure of the record companies work. Like I love that. Like to this day, there's things I learned there that like I would have never known otherwise. And I was doing bars like at that time, like because I'd already been DJing, but the production aspect was a whole like learning process. I was just starting to get my head around. So I wasn't like as advanced. I'd been DJing since I was like 14. So that was like 4 or 5 years. So I was like decently far into DJing at that point. And there was like local bars I started doing like before I could even drink at them. And I was doing band breaks and stuff. So I got a night on
a bracelet or some giant X's, or
I was just in the booth, man. It was just kind of like casual. Like, I mean, I don't remember like distinctively. I wasn't like drinking underage or anything like that I can remember. If I was, maybe I did, but I don't remember that. But I mean, it was just cool to be in nightclubs and bars. Like I was doing I did a few local night spots, like, and there was a local bar that did like nightclub stuff at night, and I got a night there. And I was using
Hershey.
Yeah, I was still using like, I started using vinyl. I remember at that time, because at the time the radio stations were sending us all this vinyl to the radio station, and nobody wanted it except me, because I was like the only DJ. Like these people that are on the radio that are just jocks, like they don't want that crap. So there was like boxes of that stuff. They'd send like 8 copies of like 50-cent records, and I'd be like, yeah, like I'm taking these shits home. So I was starting to like get all the new stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna DJ on turntables now, like, you know what I mean? And so I started DJing on exclusively, like I'd take a CD player, like as well in case I needed to play stuff. But I was like mixing with like vinyl and CDs for a little bit, and then I got on vinyl exclusively, like because I was getting so much vinyl like sent to me from the radio stations, and then we started a mix show, and I got more vinyl that way there. So it was a lot of the radio station to help me get a lot of that music, because otherwise I was like a broke college kid. I wouldn't be able to afford to buy all that vinyl. So
Do you still have a lot of the vinyl? Are you?
I have like a lot of it from that era, because it just like I was like, man, like this is like my first, like, you know what I mean? Like it's like sentimental. Like I put it in like Rubbermaid containers, and like it's sealed, like it's like safe. And
I still have a lot of mine. I get it.
but I mean, I got rid of it. Like I'm like, do I really need like 4 copies of like Sierra, like Mob Deep, like I mean Sierra, Field Mob Sierra? Like, do I need 4 copies of So What? So What?
So What?
Yeah, I'm like, do I really need that? And I'm like, I can get rid of some of these. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah.
I want to transition. I want to ask a couple more questions. With that being said, is there something that you know now that you wish you had known when you started? So does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I would have been so much farther along if I had somebody to sit me down and like explain the basics of mastering and like compression.
So let's do a 2-parter. Let's do specifically with remixing, yes, but then secondly, I'd love to hear about just DJing as well, something that that you wish you knew then.
Well, yeah, just like about how to talk to establishments, rate negotiating, it's like what things to like stay away from. Like I like to this day, I honestly still think like if I had a manager at any point, I'd be a lot farther along. And I still think that to this day, like if I meet someone that I feel like could handle it or like would be willing to like see my vision, like I'd love to have a manager now. I still don't, but it's beneficial. But I mean, sometimes it's better not to have one in certain circumstances, because like the homies don't want to deal with like management. They're just like, bro, like we've been booking you for like 10 years. Like I don't want to talk to your effing manager. Like, you know what I mean? Right. Like what the hell are you talking about? Like, but
you would probably almost end up doing most of it, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't benefit you like to be negotiating for yourself. It doesn't, like, you know what I mean?
I 100% agree. I think all 3 of us sitting here would be a lot further with our careers if we had somebody selling us versus ourselves selling us, because all 3 of us sitting here, going back onto other questions that we've talked about, have all cared so much about the craft and being better as a DJ and customizing our shows. So I think that's a huge thing, that if I had somebody to focus on, the selling is the part that I am the worst at. I'm, locally, I've been okay with that, and it's only just because of relationships. But the selling to other markets and other places is I think would be huge with a manager. I think not only Scooter would you be further along, but I think all 3 of us sitting right here could agree with that in a lot of ways. And even with the wedding stuff, it's like working with Drew, working for these other companies and stuff, and you who are now selling you, I'm sure that's a big help.
Well, I think you're still doing all your own stuff, right? You're not subcontracting for some stuff, or are you?
For what, weddings?
Well, yeah, for weddings. I know. So with the pandemic, I started subcontracting, and I moved a different route. I was sick of doing the business. I wanted to let go of the business and become an artist again, Yeah,
right. So a friend of mine, like I've known for a lot of years in Central PA, like we started like a Central PA based thing that he mostly handles all that. But for me personally, it's all just solo stuff, because I just felt like I was limiting myself to like staying like in certain markets. So I've always just been like kind of fly by night, like solo dolo type of a deal, because especially with now the wedding space I was in, like doing these weddings, like you're basically doing like one-offs all the time. You know what I mean? That thing when I was at Penn State a couple weeks ago, I did the nightclub And then Alex actually asked me to do a wedding for his company as a subcontractor that weekend because I was in the area. Like, so that just all worked out. But I will do that. Like, Brian B has asked me about doing some stuff for him, and I'm happy to do that. But yeah, it's pretty much solo stuff because I just feel like you kind of have to be that way, like in certain aspects. If you're like locked into like a gigantic company and you're doing a lot of business, it's great, but it kind of limits you in some ways as far as like if opportunities present themselves, you can't take them because you're like, well, I'm committed a year and a half out, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that's
because
true. But you're still doing work for other companies that are contacting you in a sense for gigs. So in a sense that they're selling the scooter brand a little bit for you in a sense if you're taking a gig for somebody else.
right.
But that's great. One of the things too that we wanted to talk about and ask you about is you've been doing and posting a lot about shoes and your shoe customization. Tell us a little bit about that. Is that like a side hustle for you, or is that what are you doing all with that?
It should be a side hustle, to be honest, because there's money in that. But I just feel like, well, I mean, I'm going to start a separate Instagram page for it. But what happened was like 2 or 3 years ago, I already liked sneakers for my whole life. And I grew up a huge Michael Jordan fan. So like Jordans were always like close to my heart. And so when I was at that time we talked about earlier around college, I was going to school for art and chose music marketing at the last minute before I transitioned from high school to college. So art has always been something I like drew my whole life and like painted my whole life. And when I went to go to the college process, like it turned too much into a job. And I felt like the longer I would do it at that level, it would make me start hating it. And I didn't want that to happen. So all these years later, like I haven't really been painting or drawing much. I felt like it was a good combination of like two of my passions and one that I missed doing. And that was like painting and drawing. So what I figured out is like self-taught, like, you know, YouTube is a hell of a resource these days. I didn't have back then either. I would have learned a lot about music if I had YouTube, but there's a lot of like what paints you need to use and like just all this stuff. So I just started messing around and like drawing on sneakers and like customizing sneakers for myself. And then I've been doing that for like 2 years. And then the pandemic, I took a shoe surgeon online shoemaking class, which kind of taught you how to make a shoe from scratch, like not painting an existing one. And like I felt like that really helped me master like shoe customization. Now I'm still not like the best person in the world at it, but I've come a long way, and it's like another release for me to like painting has always really relaxed me, and drawing. So when I'm like in a music space I don't want to be in or like have like a creative block that way, I'll like do some
Take it
custom
another route. Yeah, it's always
Sorry.
good to have another outlet like that.
Yeah,
Are you
and like
making
honestly,
a couple bucks on them, or
yeah,
how's
I
that
mean, I
working?
have
'Cause
sold
they
like
look
Christmas.
awesome.
Oh, thank you. I've sold like stuff for people ask for Christmas gifts, so I've done that for people. And to be honest with you, like when I wear out the customs, like I wore some this weekend to the Eagles game, like I got so many people that stopped me, and so they're like, "Man, I would really buy those. Like, you should like sell them." And I'm like, "All right." So I just don't know, like, because it takes so much time. I'd have to like do them in like 5 pairs at a time, and to be like, "All right, the lead time's like 2 months or something, like 3 months," because like I do so much for DMS, like, you know, whatever, like all this other stuff. You got to have life stuff too. You can't be constantly just like locking yourself like and never coming out of the house. So, and you got gigs and like there's just, you know, being a normal person. So just like it's a lot of energy to pour into like creative stuff, and it's like draining too. Like,
Oh, completely. The creative stuff is more mentally draining and exhausting than a lot of stuff for me too. I totally understand that.
yeah, because
I
you're
was
sitting
just
there
talking
like
with
this
Fuse.
with like a paintbrush, like for
Oh.
hours, like getting, you know what I mean? Like, and it's like, it's by the end of it, I'm like drained, like, but I'm like hyper focused too. So that takes a lot of like mental patience to be that way. So, I mean, but it's rewarding, like, you know what I mean? Like, I love wearing custom kicks and get a lot of compliments on it. And I know there's a lot of DJs that ask me if I do pairs for them. I said yes, and not one of them has actually sent me a pair of sneakers yet. So they all asked us. So I'm like,
now you're gonna get bombarded now with telling people
like,
this.
can you do this? And I'm like, yeah, like this is the price. And I'm like, all right, send them to me. Like I'll do them. Like at least send me the pair, and then they're here, and then I can work on them over the next like couple weeks. Like, but nobody sent me.
Hurry up, hit them up.
I'm taking the first 5 pairs.
DJs, the line is open. He's ready.
We got a couple more questions, and a couple of them we just want to be like rapid fire. But first, do you have your gig computer by you? Is it close to you?
My laptop?
Yeah.
Well, we want to know what your most played song in Serato is.
Yes.
Oh, let's see. Can you look that up?
Yeah, it's got the play count now, and then you could search all by play count.
But will that come up even if I don't have my hard drive plugged in?
It should. Maybe, I don't know. Mine, I'll just tell mine. I just did it. Mine is bottoms up, which is kind of embarrassing, but
all right, wait, now I'm excited to do this. Hold on.
I know mine is specifically Fireball. Because
Fireball. We can't say that. He's sponsored by another ball.
No, that's
mine is Screwball.
No, Fireball's
Screwball.
Wait. Stored by. Wait, do I have play count on here?
Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
Oh, I got it. I enabled it. All right, plays. All right, let me see. Holy crap. Well, see, okay, this doesn't have my hard drive plugged in, so these numbers are skewed. But apparently, based on just the songs I have on the laptop, my bootleg of Sean Kingston "Beautiful Girls" is at 60.
Sean Kingston.
It's Sean Kingston for the win. We were just talking about Sean Kingston on the last episode.
Yeah.
Wait, what bootleg is that? Because I definitely don't have that bootleg. I'm positive about
that. It's like I did it a year ago. It's Sean Kingston versus Morgan Page. Will it play? Like
it might.
All right, we definitely need to add that in the Slack channel real quick for the kid here. Oh, that's good.
I vaguely remember hearing this one now. Yes.
It's a Morgan Page song.
All right, and then another question was: are Philadelphia cheesesteaks as overrated as the Philadelphia Eagles? And it sounds like a biased question to me if I've ever heard one. So that's
DJ Demand, or no, that's not DJ Demand. Who was that from?
I forget who it was, but we'll just ask: what is your go-to cheesesteak place in Philly?
Well, like everyone always says, like Pat and Gino's, but there's a lot of like other ones that are.
Me and Scooter, or I'm sorry, me. So we all hung out at Expo, and me and Fuse on the way back because we flew out of Philly, stopped at Pat's. You know, we just were like, oh, we're rolling the dice. We went with Pat's, and it was good.
I got it. Wit onions, not without
wit cheese,
wit cheese, but he said that him and Warren went to a place that was better, and it was neither one of those.
Yeah, it was.
Who, Warren did?
Me and Warren, when we first landed, me and Warren drove in together, and let me see if I can pull it up. Give me a sec. Like
to be honest, like there's like outside of the local community, like
called Phillips.
Okay,
Phillips
yeah,
steaks.
That one's definitely one of the like local sleepers. Like another one that people like say they prefer over Pat and Gino's is like D'Alessandro's. That one is like probably like third. It's like the local favorite, but nobody really knows about it outside of the city. Like that's one of the.
What's the Scooter pick though?
What's the Scooter pick?
I'll go with D'Alessandro's.
All right, there we go. You heard it here first.
Yo, to be honest with you, though, like cheesesteaks are like not my top of the list for things I love to eat. So it's kind of like a. You know, if like you ask me about like wings, like and be like, oh, like where have you had some good wings across the country? Like I could probably like be
we want Philly. You're Philly guy. We need that Philly answer because
if you're not doing Pat and Gino's for the photos, like you know, like D'Alessandro's, like And if you're gonna go down to Pat and Gino's, like Lorenzo's has those pizza slices that are like literally like 2.5 feet. So you got to do that too if you're down there. So
Wait,
Lorenzo's
hold up,
pizza.
rewind real quick. Pat or Geno's, you pick for those two.
Oh,
Those
I
are the
can't do
tourists.
that.
That's
Come
the tourist
on.
spot. Which one has the sponsor? Which one's gonna send in the most money for the sponsorship?
No, I can't, dude. I don't know that. I can't pick. I don't know. I don't know. I can't.
Let's
That's
say
like,
you were in jail and there was a large man in front of you, and he was going to make you do stuff you didn't want to do unless you told him one of those things. Which one do you
man.
pick?
We only had Pat, so we didn't even try Geno's. I couldn't even give you my answer.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna. Oh man, I'm just gonna go with Geno's just because like it's not Pat's. But
wow, shots fired.
Dang. Now you're gonna go to Pat's and they're gonna be like, bro, what's up? You're Scooter. We know you. You said this thing on that podcast.
I'm sorry.
Just kidding. They're not
know.
listening to this podcast.
We're going to digress
maybe
a little bit, and we're going to go back to, because we got a couple of these as rapid fire, is what is the biggest remix you've ever made? And we rattle off a couple of them in the intro, and I know for me, wow, it's tough. That Rihanna one's awesome, but that when Rude was as big as it was, that Rude remix was just again, I deleted the original. It's not even really a competition.
Yeah, I played that too a bazillion
personally,
times.
I want to know personally, right? I'm not saying like what's gotten numbers, like what's like the one that's meant the most and like had like, how do you say impact on your career, right? Does that make sense?
I think like it easily prior to the Tatiana thing I just did, I think it had to be the Miley Cyrus one because like at the time, like that twerk 2013, like twerk music was like the biggest genre, like, you know what I mean? Like tech houses now or whatever. Like it was like a movement for like a couple years. And like that whole thing, like my timing of when it came out and like how all the little pieces that I like came up with, like I was able to source like Jay-Z saying like, it sounded like Jay-Z was like doing ad libs like for Miley. And I was just able to go through like every Jay-Z acapella I ever had and like find him saying like the same words that she happened to be saying. Like it was like so much time and effort I spent. Like I remember the track was like done and I was like, I mixed it down and was going to save it. And then I was like, you know what? Like, I wonder if I could find Jay-Z saying this. And then I found one word and I was like, oh, that's cool. And I'm like, I wonder if I could find him saying this. And then I spent like another week. Like,
well, you're not just going on like lyrics, Jay-Z lyrics.
No, because
Google.
like, so I mean that helps sometimes, but like sometimes it's like not accurate. Like people like misquote Jay-Z or whatever or artists. So I just
I will compliment you, Scooter. That's the only remix I actually have in my Serato. The only version I have is Miley Cyrus. We Can't Stop. It's the Scooter version.
So with that being said, we wanted to ask you too. What are some producers and remixers that you like are feeling at the moment?
Ooh, man. Well, outside of like dudes in my generation, like I'll name some like younger ones. There's like there's a dude like Rivas, who's been making some like cool house bootlegs. I think he's Florida based. And let me think. This dude Legati, who's is Scribble's like former brother-in-law. He makes some cool stuff. He's out of New York. It's not everybody, like not all these guys like have like bangers every single time, but
yeah. Some of the stuff that they've made it's interesting.
There's a bunch of like local, like I'd say local because they're like north of me, but like Jersey dudes like that came up around like Frugio's area that like this young kids like Olive Oil Music. It's like two dudes that are like on the come up. So I definitely shouting out like local talent because like I love that there's like dudes locally. Like if I got a shout out from somebody when I was coming up, like I thought like that would have been like encouragement. So like I definitely love to shout out local talent that's like doing stuff for sure. And like there's dudes on some of the record pools too that are like I don't even know who they are personally, but you know, like there's a couple dudes like I'll download and I find myself playing. Like DeVille always crushes it. Like that's a homie forever. Like, you know, so he's always been steady. But yeah, there's some house dudes. I'm trying to think of some other ones. I should pull up my Serato and just go through, be like play count.
Pull it out. Pull out Serato, man. We're here. People want to know.
DJ Demand would like to know if Drake's "Way Too Sexy" was written about you.
Oh my god.
And then more on the serious note, Big Earn would like to know if you weren't a DJ and you weren't DJing, what would you be doing?
I really like this question a lot.
Yeah, I like this one too.
See, I always thought like if it wasn't a DJ, like I felt like I would have jumped into bartending because I like talking to people and I'm outgoing, but like that's not necessarily like if I had to choose like something outside of the industry, I don't know. I feel like I should be doing something that's like in a marketing space because it would be utilizing like my creative mind. And I'm always out and about like at nightclubs or in hotels. And I'm always like looking at all the little details, like how the pictures are hung or the lighting's presented or the layout of the restaurant or the menu graphics. Like I'm very big into like graphic design too. So I feel like I'd be into marketing somehow because my mind just kind of automatically thinks that way without even having to think about it. Like it just like goes to that defaults to like looking at things from that lens point of view. So I feel like would be doing that, or I should be doing that.
You wouldn't have an OnlyFans and be selling content on OnlyFans is what you're saying.
No, but I mean, my feet aren't real jacked up, so maybe I could do like feet photos. Like, they're not like I don't have like toes that are like extra longer than the others, or like you know, like any weird stuff like that.
Yeah,
so maybe
you could sell 2-day-old used underwear on there or something.
Yeah.
Make real profit.
What's that Zoolander where it's like he's a hand model, you could be a foot model, where you like carbon like preserve your foot.
They have what's that the people that love the sounds like ASDR, is that what it's called? The when people like open chip bags real slow.
Oh my god, you see that? They're like those girls on TikTok doing it,
and they're eating like cereal, like I'm like maybe I could do that, or I could like hold like photos of my foot holding different beverages like on OnlyFans or something like that.
There you go. You heard it here, folks. That's what he'd be doing.
I've gotten this question by probably 1,000 people, and I know I've asked you it, so I'm gonna just put it on air. When are you releasing that Shout remix that you presented at DJ Collective?
Let's hope I still have that session. I don't know, dude. I feel like I feel like by the time we get to DJ Collective like this year, I should just like
release it then.
Yeah, during my mashup like showcase, just be like, hey, go to this, have a QR code, and just people can scan it and download it for free. I feel like I need to like do that because it's been so long. I'll try to get that done, man. That's you know what's messed up about that song is I put it down and there's multiple like BPM like issues with that song, and I have these files that like I mapped the BPM to a certain point and then it changes and then I mapped it again and I like forgot at what point I stopped mapping it. So I'm like, oh, I got to jump back in, and I totally forget where I was on that session. So like 3/4 of the session is done and then the last like chorus isn't. So I need to like, I don't know. I just need to go in and do it. It's going to take me a long time to figure that out. But
so what he's saying is stay on them, guys, and maybe by Collective they'll have it.
I should just do it. So at DJ Collective, everyone can have it, and I'll be like, "Thanks for coming. Thanks for spending your money. Here's this remix." And if you're not at DJ Collective, you don't get it. No,
you don't get it. No, that should be it. That should be a 100. It should be an exclusive. So I see your monitors in the back, and me and Fuse we all were hanging out at Expo. Which was so much fun. We just bought the RCF ones. What do you got in the background right there?
Those the white Yamahas?
The Yamaha SSH 8s. Sorry, excuse me. And to be honest, like when I bought these, all those years, but prior, I think I got these like 4 years ago, 3 years ago now, maybe 4. I was still using the same Windows 95 computer speakers my entire career. Those are the only
I
speakers I
remember
ever.
you told me about this.
Yeah.
I remember you telling me about
Yeah,
this.
and so like to think that like all this stuff I made all these years, I like made on those tiny little shitty speakers, like blows my mind, and I don't know what I was doing, but they definitely are like the most flat speakers I've heard. You know, a lot of people have those KRKs, but after doing a lot of my research and talking to like some people that professionally master, like they recommended these speakers. DJ Kova, who like does a lot of mastering for now, like secretly, not secretly, but like quietly for like a lot of big artists, like and record companies, like told me, you know, he's stays in tune with a lot of that stuff and explained to me why you need to be using like a flat monitor, and because a lot of the monitors you get off the shelves have like fake bass boosts and all this crap, and like you don't want to be mixing a record and the speakers introducing to you fake bass frequencies that aren't really there, and then you go play at the club and it sounds flat. So I really love these speakers. It's really game changing for me as far as like production. Like, you know, I can tune things a whole lot better with these, especially like all my frequency ranges. Like it's a lot more accurate as far as like what you're going to hear when you play it out at your car or nightclub. So,
and that's why that Scooter remix is so popular, because yeah, you guys hear it first. You are crushing it, dude. It's been just incredible. We got two last things before we jump out of here. What are your advice for young DJs and producers coming up? Something to look out for.
Well, definitely don't get too far over your skis when it comes to like ego. Definitely reach out to people and be humble when you do it, because I feel like when people reach out to me and their tone of voice on like Instagram or email is like, I can tell they're like coming to me with their ego in check. Like it makes me a whole lot more willing to do things for them or spend the time to write a long email back, or if they need to jump on a call, like do that stuff. Then somebody who like I do get messages sometimes. I got one like over the summer, which was like, I'm not going to name who it was, but it was kind of like hey bro, like I'm playing like in the same place you are tonight. Like, and basically it was like, talk to me like I'm some like gum on the shoe. And this kid was like 22 years old. It was like basically expecting me to like find him gear for the night. Like instead of like, hey, I'm in a pinch, like it would mean a lot. Like if you could like make some phone calls, like please, or anything like that. It was kind of like, dude expected me to like find him like specific gear, which nobody uses. Like I was like, I just want to tell this kid to go F himself and like kick rocks. It was like, really, like, it was just weird. I was like, who does that? Like, why does every 21-year-old DJ think like they're effing Tiesto right out the box? Like, it's just like, I hate that shit. So like, keep your ego in check for sure. And I feel like that would go a long way. And definitely like stay consistent on your socials, because everyone seems to care about Instagram and TikTok a whole lot right now, even though I don't think that's like might not be beneficial to you long term. But in the short term, like spend 1% of your time like on your Instagram and TikTok, and the other 99% actually being good at home and not and if you can't keep your Instagram and TikTok like pop in, like then find somebody who knows about that and let them handle it and pay them to do that, because you should be working on your craft when you're at home. And
so something I've seen on TikTok that seems to be super trending, and you know, us as older DJs think it's been there, done that. But blends and mashups just have really made a massive comeback. Do you think that's something that producers and DJs obviously keep them a key, but should be paying attention to and making? Or
yeah, and I'm guilty of not doing that. And the thing about it is, I like when I see some like stuff that blows up, I'm like, dude, like I have a catalog of shit I could put up there that like I did 10 years ago. Like, to be honest with you, somebody just posted on like a DJ forum like the other day, like, and made a huge thing about it. It was like it was like Jay-Z versus AC/DC. I was like, and I literally just like responded with my link. It was like, I did this shit 10 years ago. Like, I literally did this 10 years ago. And people were commenting like, Scooter already did that. Scooter already did that. I was like, so just telling me like, there's definitely a market for that out there. And like, if you know how to do that, like, I think there's benefits to putting that stuff out. Like, because the internet doesn't know like that you're a new DJ and whatever. And if stuff catches on, like, look how many artists have blown up off TikTok. Like,
Well,
I
who's
think
that guy that we were just talking about? Not on the show, but just on messages. We were talking about the Neon Moon guy, and it's kind of like he just threw some drums over the track, and that just blew up.
Yeah, Noise is his name.
Yeah.
The DJ Noise, yeah.
And it just overnight. I mean, how much do you think that is just going to help his career go through the roof?
I don't know. I actually saw a clip of Diplo playing that like a couple weeks ago at Encore Beach Club. So I mean, there's benefits to that. I mean, for sure. I mean, look at like you get one song like that, and like that dude Amorphous, who's actually from like this area, who did that Rihanna mash that became a Fat Joe record.
Yes.
Sunlight. Yeah. I mean, that kid like was nobody knew who he was. Like, not for nothing, but like he was like a Rihanna, like he was like known on like the Rihanna like fan girl and fanboy like community, but like outside of that, like nobody knew who he was. So look what he did. He just posted it and like blew up on Twitter and then I guess TikTok. But I asked him on an interview like a couple weeks ago, and he still doesn't have a solid platform for all those edits either. Like, people were like, well, where can we find your stuff? He was like, well, I post them on YouTube, and you know how YouTube is, like YouTube yanks down everything. So like, I don't even know how he still has stuff legally up there because all that's copyrighted material. So yeah, I'm not sure how he legally still has that up there, but I mean, he posted up there, and it's fair game as long as they don't take it down.
So they need some kind of Patreon or OnlyFans to post this stuff on.
Well, yeah, I mean, Patreon.
They should at least be prepared, right?
Yeah, like use all your platforms. Like, it's the stuff's free. Like SoundCloud now is a little bit more lenient on some stuff. Like, just let it be accessible for people that aren't DJs too, because I think I made that mistake like a couple years ago, and now like I have my laptop skin. Instead of just my DJ name is a custom QR code with my logo. And I find since I've had that I get a lot more people. I see them scanning, and I can track like where it was scanned, how many times on a given night. Like, and it sends them to like a launch page, which I independently control, like what social medias are shown, the links to what, like it's YouTube videos up there. So I always find it to be like useful to like have all that stuff available, because most of the people that come out and see us aren't DJs. So it's like, you got to be thinking outside.
Always promoting.
Well, with that being said, is there any links that you want to promote, or you want to share your Instagram for anybody that's listening that isn't following, that they can follow you?
Yeah, I mean, Instagram is just at DJ Scooter, and then SoundCloud is Scooter Remix, Scooter RMX. Let me make sure I got that right, because it's changed a few times. SoundCloud sucked over.
Is there a website that hits everything?
No, I mean, it's DJScooter.net has links, but I need to update that. I think I update SoundCloud and my other socials a whole lot more than I update that, which is probably not the way I should be. So I'm guilty of not being on top of my own stuff, but that's what I'm talking about. It's like, yeah, SoundCloud Scooter Remix. And I update that pretty regularly with live mixes from the radio station and like some mashups too. And then
yeah, we didn't touch on your radio station. Also, if you can talk about the Patreon.
Yeah, I mean, I have a Patreon page, and it just has content up there that I don't put elsewhere, and it's patreon.com/DJ Scooter, and that's just like extra material, things that I come up with creatively that I don't post other places, and
feet pictures.
And now I feel like my next post needs to be a foot photo.
That being said, he does post tons and tons of stuff on our sponsor, directmusicservice.com. And he's always has fire remixes up on there.
Yeah, his newest
So
edit, that Drake "Way Too Sexy Over Sandstorm," is like the top download for the last week or something. So, and a lot of what Scooter makes is always in the top downloads of the site. So if you're not on DMS, you need to be on DMS and getting music from there.
directmusicservice.com.
Yeah, we are going to go to our YOLO line call. Scooter, if you want to stay on, you're welcome to stay on. But if you got stuff you want to do, you can feel free to go. But if you want to hear some of these, you're welcome to.
Stay on for some of the yellow lines.
I want to stay on for a couple. Yeah.
All right. So we got 3 calls that we're going to play. And Scooter, just so you know, while the call is playing, nobody will be able to hear or see what you're doing. So if you're talking, nobody will be able to hear. So our first call was from DJ Vinny. So we're going to go ahead and play DJ Vinny's call. So here it is.
Fuck you, Fuse Mania. Fuck you.
All right. That's what Vinny had to say. That's cool.
Thank you, Vinny. Yeah, it's very
all right.
Feedback is real. Thank you.
Shout out to DJ Vinny. God love him and hate him at the same time. Gosh, love you, Vinny. Next up, we got DJ Brian Guinness. DJ Brian Guinness gave us a call on the yellow line, so here we go.
Yo, so this is DJ Brian Guinness. I was just hanging out with Drew and Fuse. Had a great time talking shop, talking the business, the politics, the music, talking it all, having a great time. I'm gonna make this as long-winded as I can. Just jokes. All right, boys. Take care. This is a lot of fun. Looking forward to the next podcast. Drew, it was great seeing you in Cincinnati. Thanks for hanging out with us. Fuse, always a rock star host. Great time. Good night. Be safe. Cheers.
That was long-winded Brian. Drew coined him long-winded Brian while drunk at the bar this weekend, and it was the most hilarious thing ever. God love DJ Brian Guinness. He was sitting there talking to Drew, and he kept saying "long story short," and Drew goes, "Every time you say long story short, it's never long story short. So from here on out, you're known as long-winded Brian." And that's not a diss on Brian. We're just joking, and it was fun. It was funny conversation. Yeah, and we got one more call here, who might also be our most interesting one, from Buns, who could be a character on our show. Here's Buns' call.
Hey, Drew and Fuse. Hey, this is Buns. Big fan of your show, man. I love watching it. Notifications on everything. Just one question for you guys. Actually a couple questions. So between Fuse and Drew, question 1, who's got a longer dong? Question number 2, this second question is mainly directed towards David, aka Fuse Mania. What is your opinion on there's a bar that you work next to called The Stretch. I just want to know your opinion on it. And third question, I'm going to target Drew on this one. Drew, how is it living out in, California, out there on the coast? I know it's a little different out there, but, I'm curious. I've heard a lot of things, good and bad. I just want to hear from someone who's a resident there. So, this is Buns, by the way. My name is Buns. Big fan, by the way. Love you guys. Thank you.
All right.
I don't even know how to respond to these.
Oh my god.
So how is it?
You put up a hotline.
Long
You
story
put up a
short,
hotline. You put up a hotline for somebody, and it goes the wrong way. I'm gonna go. Fuse probably has the bigger dong. I'm just gonna go with it. Mine's an innie, not an outie. And then I would say then, for my answer is California is finally getting back to being normal. We sucked for a very long time. People still believe here that COVID is, again, it's real. I'm not saying it's not real, but COVID is a lot more serious than when I go other places. So as a traveler, I find it to be very fascinating, the different rules in the different states. I find to be very fascinating. But I'm happy that we're back, and we're back. Fuse, how do you like The Stretch? I think was one of the questions.
Oh, well, I don't know if we got a long enough time for how I feel about that place. But when Buns is there, everything's good. When Buns isn't there, we don't have any buns. You know what I mean? And actually, my girlfriend works there too, so I think that was a ploy to try to get me to talk something about her, and potentially maybe talk some crap too. But maybe that's a story for another day. But it is the hottest bar on the banks in the summertime, in terms of no AC, right, Buns?
Have you ever played down there, Scooter? Have you been in Cincy?
I was one time, and Drew had me play. Fuse had me play with him somewhere
at Pavilion in Mount Adams, where
nice.
It's now closed, but that was where all the DJs came through at for the longest time.
Isn't there a brand new nightclub in Cincinnati? I just saw on social media that there's a brand new nightclub that like just opened or is opening. Am I wrong? Like
in Cincinnati?
Energy, maybe?
Well, that's where I play on Saturdays. I play there on Saturday nights.
But like, is that the newest one?
No, Energy's been there for a few years.
It's another one then, because I just saw it and I was like, "Well, I wonder what the deal is with that." I didn't hear anything from you about it.
We should do a party in Cincinnati, a DMS party.
Yeah, we'll get all the East Coast guys to come down, play.
How's the scene there? Like overall, you happy with it? Is it on the run? Is it?
I'm happy. I'm happy where I'm playing right now at the two spots I'm playing. I do the bar on Friday nights, which is called Fishbowl, and it's on the banks there by the stretch, and there's a tin roof there. There's another club called Gala Park that's there. There's another bar called J Social. It's like a big bar district, and then they just turned the street into an open container, so now people can like drink in the street there too. But I'm happy there on Fridays. It's popping. It's more of a bar type place, but it's cool because he has live music every night of the week there. And then on Fridays and Saturdays, he has DJs as well. So the live music will play first, and then us DJs will come on. And it's cool because, Saab is a DJ and he owns the bar and the club.
Oh, yeah. Saab, that's it. Saab, I saw his posts. So yeah. I wasn't aware that was the same place. Yeah.
Yep. So he owns Fishbowl and he owns Energy, the two spots that I play at. And
so I've known him since, like you were talking about edits, dude. I was posting my edits on like a forum way back in the day, and he was like one of like 10 dudes from that forum. So I've known him for like ever from the internet. Like he had he probably has edits I don't even have anymore, because I used to post just like all that crap I told you I was making on like Windows computers, and I'd post it on like a DJ forum that he was a part of. I remember that. So that was a long ass time ago, but yeah, he's a good dude.
Yeah, he's great. He makes a ton of edits still too when we can convince him to DJ some still. But he's a great DJ and a great just a great person to learn from. And he was telling me, actually, I think when I told him that we were going to have you on, he was telling me that, he remembers talking to you like way back then about that stuff too.
Yeah, on AOL Instant Messenger, we used to like communicate on that.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm old.
What's your AOL account?
Yeah.
We just want to follow up and thank everyone.
7.
We want to thank everyone for sending in the conga line challenges. Again, you can see those on the Instagram. Also, we did not play a YOLO line from Brian Buonasisi, DJ Brian B. He will be our next guest, actually. So we're going to play those then. And have you guys sent in any questions you got for DJ Brian B? He's going to be coming on here next week.
Yeah. And once again, like Drew said, thanks for everybody that has submitted the conga line challenge videos. We didn't think that would be near as popular as it's been. Scooter, if you don't know, we asked everybody to submit these conga line videos. The rule being you can't MC it to start it, and you can't be playing the actual conga song. It has to start naturally. And it's been like we've been getting overwhelming amount of video responses with it.
How does that like? Are you trying? Like, how do you induce a conga line then?
I don't try. Nobody. No, I don't think anybody's. Yeah.
No. So this weekend when I got my conga line I was playing Blinding Lights, and then I transitioned into Take On Me, and all of a sudden the conga line started on Take On Me, and they're going around the whole room with Take On Me. I said nothing. I did nothing. Boom, conga line happened. I have no idea, but that was kind of the whole humor behind it. Is this a new trend that we're missing out on?
I saw more recently a trend that started is not really something that's new, but like it's happened a lot at weddings, like in portions of the night, is the spin the bottle, and then like, but if it lands on you, you have to enter the middle of the dance floor. Like, so they get in a big circle, and like, you know, there's 40, 50 people, and like it's spin it. And if it lands on that person, they have to go out and like twerk or dance for like a couple seconds. And like, that has been like a favorite thing at weddings that has happened like totally organically. I don't ask them to do that, but it's happened actually a few times recently.
I'm sorry. You need to explain this a lot better, because spin the bottle. How does this work?
So somebody
never in a million years heard of this ever.
Somebody takes, well, so a thing that's like,
who sets this up? Does just someone bring out a bottle, or does the coordinator have this, or is this planned, or what?
Empty bottle, and you like, so you remember, like, think of like Step Up, like, you know, like their dance battle circles, like that type of thing. But like everybody that's on the dance floor like forms a big circle, like, and it wasn't like a purposeful like thing. Like people were just like having fun. Like maybe the bride and groom got in the middle of the dance floor, and like everyone backed away to like show them like we're gonna spotlight them, and the photographers took some pictures, like them like going at it, having fun. Well, then like it was like, okay, like who's next? So like then someone took an empty beer bottle and put it in the middle of the dance floor, and like whoever was in the middle spun it, and like whoever it lands on, that person then comes out and has to show off some dance moves. And then when they're done dancing, they spin it again, and it went on for like at least an entire song. And it was, I mixed into like, I think it might have started with like Apache or something, and then I mixed into like another song, and they kept going. So it was like at least 2 songs worth of like people like having fun. So I thought it was funny. Like I was like, hey,
and you didn't announce this at all. Nobody explained it. So it's just somebody of the
Nope.
All right, spin the bottle challenge is new, coming up here.
Yeah.
In the next month or two. The Scooter spin the bottle challenge is definitely what it's going to be titled.
Yeah, sponsored by Screwball Whiskey.
Sponsored by Screwball Whiskey. If you can get Screwball Whiskey in the shot, I don't know. We might have to send you a bottle.
I'm saying, like,
I think we might send you a bottle.
Yeah, man, that's just been fun. Like, you know, I'm like, what's going on? But obviously, like, if you're at a wedding and the bride and groom are dancing by themselves in the middle of the floor, like, everyone's gonna like part the sea for them. So it was like natural that, like, I don't know who did it. I think one of the bridesmaids, like, or you know, maid of honor jumped on there and was like, took her bottle that she just killed and was like, spun it, and it landed on someone, and like they came out and like showed off some dance moves, and like then you spin it and you go back to your place, and it was a lot of hooting and hollering. Like it was like, woo, ah, ah! Like people were like doing some crazy stuff. Like I was like, someone's getting down in the middle of that circle. You know, it was hard to see some of it, but it was like it went on for a while, and I was like, hey, they're having fun, like let it rock. So
dude, that's Fuse, write that down. That's sponsored by Screwball Whiskey and Scooter.
Scooter and Screwball spin the bottle challenge.
Yeah, I think that's. I don't know about. We already have one planned for next month, but December, that's definitely coming.
Hey, if you're looking for like somebody to kick a dance floor off and like people are being weird, you could try it. I don't think it would be terrible for the dance floor. So
there you go.
You know, Scooter, you've been absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for jumping on here. We would love to have you come back and just even talk about, you know, what DJs should be playing, and, you know, really highlight stuff that I think a lot of DJs get too stuck in their ways. You know, I have a buddy that will send me a set. It's cracking right now. And if I look at Serato and I go, bro, stop with this is how we do it into Usher set. Don't tell me it's cracking when you're playing those songs. Like, no more. So we need to entertain DJs and teach DJs how we do it. So we'd love to bring you back on and just, you know, have you tell us about how to really, you know, change up your sets a little bit. So think about it, and we'll bring you back.
yeah, man. I just want to put this out there. So I'm not like the end all be all for like the DJ community, but I'm always open to things being done differently. So I'm not the DJ Bible, but I'd like to think that like I have a well-rounded approach to a lot of stuff. And if somebody is like killing it with their sets, doing it a certain way, I'd love to hear that. And I would encourage everybody out to go hear other DJs as often as they physically can, because everybody has these things that it's easy to fall into patterns and stuff. And it's really great to go hear other DJs and like help break you out of your like mental space. Like I never thought I could mix a song that way. So I encourage everyone to go do that and just like be respectful and try to like be a whole lot better as a DJ community than stop hating on everybody. So I just needed to get that off my chest.
Completely.
I would say something that I did recently is, I actually, as wedding DJs, I think it's really hard to break out of your space, because you're either playing every weekend or you can't just pop in like to a club and go see a wedding DJ, right? So I just dropped my whole ego and everything, and I went and roadied for a couple guys, and I picked up so many things of just going and roading for somebody. Like, oh, you set up your equipment like this. You are a psychopath because you roll your cables like a crazy person, the with the arm, just little things, so picking up anything, how to announce better, just little tiny things. I think any DJ company person is going to say, oh, you want to come out for free and help me out? Sure, I will take that up on it. So go help your other community and learn. We're all learning together, we're all helping each other. That's what the show's for, that's what we're all here for. So thank you, everybody. It's been
thank you guys. And to reiterate, that's what you said, Scooter, and what Drew said is like the basis of us starting this podcast is to give listeners a chance, and other DJs a chance, to hear from guys such as yourself, Scooter, and us that are guys that are out there doing events, multiple times on a week, more days than not, and just in real world, real life situations, not always at super clubs, or not always just in better situations. And we just want to talk and have the conversation of what we've had today, of multiple ways of doing things and all that. So
so I don't mean to cut you off, but like I just illustrates this. So I know we talked about this like pre talking into the podcast, but you're talking about mega clubs. Like I was in Vegas this weekend and went to Excess, and Chainsmokers were playing, and they graciously made sure that we were taken care of to come see them. And I heard them play like on their tour a few times, and it was very kind of like rigid as far as like their set list. You could tell I felt like their set list was planned a lot around their tour production and not like, a nightclub and when I heard them in Excess, I literally thought it was going to be a lot of that. And they played probably like the most unexpectedly like open format set that I could have imagined for them, considering like how far they've come in their career and stuff. And they did throw in like that Tatiana thing I made and all that crap, which I didn't know they were going to do that, but like I was just shocked at how like they're supposed to be like the upper echelon of like EDM DJs, right? And they go to Excess, a nightclub that's like one of the biggest in the world, and it's like supposed to be this like fancy bottle service spot, and they went in there and just had fun. And I just thought it was like that just like re-emphasizes to what I'm saying. Like, that would be my ideal situation. Like if I ascend to a height that big, it's kind of pushing all of what we talked about into like that space. Like don't be too cool to like have fun. So I thought like it's great to see that some people are doing that, and it's not all fancy bottle service, like too cool for everybody type things that are going on. So that was refreshing. I just had to get that off because I was surprised. So kudos to them.
Cool. Yeah, that is really cool. And I think that's gonna wrap up today. I think that that's kind of all we had question wise and time for today. But again, as Drew said, we're gonna hopefully get you back on soon. And DJs, if you guys have any questions or things, comments about today's show, write them in the comments. Again, please rate and review and download the podcast on whatever streaming service you're listening to, whether it's Spotify or iTunes. And if you're on YouTube, please subscribe and comment and like the video too as well. All of that will help share and grow the podcast bigger and, give everybody a broader range that's here. So again, we just want to thank you. And Drew, did you have anything else?
I was going to say, yeah, if you have any shoes for Scooter, make sure to send them over sooner than later because
yeah, I'll take 5.
He doesn't have he has no lines at the moment, so send over as many shoes as possible.
Yeah, Christmas is coming up. Maybe he'll get it done for you by then.
After the DJ Collective, I'll start cranking out the orders.
So, all right, awesome. Thank you, Scooter. We appreciate you taking the time to be with us here today. And yes, air horn. So we appreciate it. And that is going to wrap up the show. Thanks for checking out the Drew and Fuse show today. And we'll be back and talk to you guys next week. See ya.
Peace.